Okay, you're probably here because you had difficulty, problems with your Sno-Thro, with it not going forward or backward. And you probably did what I did, is, searched up troubleshooting problems. And a lot of them probably mentioned the friction disc, which is, here's a friction disc, and then this wheel hits that, turns, right? Turns that, which turns that gear, which turns the chain, which turns your sprocket and your pinion, right? So now it's turning your pinion gear, which then turns the spur gear, this thing here, spur gear, and that spur gear turns your axle, okay? So when everything's working right, it all goes like that. So at first I thought it was a friction disc. It wasn't. I mean, the friction disc is old, probably could use a new one, but that was not the problem. The problem was when, and you can tell this, the friction, this wheel was spinning. All these wheels were spinning, but the axle, this spur gear was not spinning. And it's because this little pinion gear up here was not aligned with the spur gear. This is the spur gear here. So there was a gap in between there. So I thought that, these gears had worn out. That's what I thought. I thought, oh, I need to replace these. And so I spent a lot of time trying to locate those parts. This is an older machine. I was able to find them. So I got the spur gear here. Okay. And I got the pinion gear here. Now, this is for a Ariens Sno-Thro. This is a 1028. It's a model 924116. It's an older model. I don't know what year, but so anyways, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how, find videos on how to replace the pinion and sprocket and or the spur gear. There aren't that many. I think the reason is these things do not wear out. These things are made of some serious metal. These things, if there's an issue with the axle not turning, it probably isn't these gears. These gears are tough. What I found is there's a bearing in here, a ball bearing right here. Okay. You can see that bearing, that ball bearing in there. When I went to take this off to replace the spur gear, what I noticed is the bearing was shot. See, this is the old bearing. See how it's out of alignment? Totally shot. So what happened is this bearing was stuck, right? And since it was off-centered, the axle was pushed this way, and therefore that was the reason why it wasn't hitting, why these teeth weren't aligning nicely. This whole axle was kind of pushed back because of this failed bearing. So I got some new bearings. Here's the package that came in. I got two because you need one for this side, one for the other side. And I replaced the bearings, and now everything lines up nicely. These are still the old pinion sprocket, the old spur gear. Everything's lining up really nice. So just before you go, I guess the moral of the story is before you go and try to find and buy all these extra parts, check your bearing. Check and see if that's shot. and just replace those. Those are a lot cheaper than these other gears. It's a lot easier to replace those. To replace it, you really only need to take out this pin right here. And I used a variety of punches. You gotta use like a nice big punch to get it flush with that, and then you need smaller punches, a variety of smaller punches to keep pushing it through. You really need to punch it through. You can't really pull it out. It's in there too tight. I wasn't able to pull it out. I had to, drive it through using different sizes of punches, nail punches. So you take that off. You take this. There's like a little half moon clip here. That came off pretty easily. One bit of advice: this axle, there was a lot of buildup, and this goes through those bearings pretty tight. So what I recommend doing is, before you even try to pull this thing out, get a little bit of WD on here. Make sure you don't get WD on anything else, but a little WD. Get some steel wool and kind of clean this up a little bit. And with the WD on it, then you kind of tap it all the way through, but it's going to be tight. And then before you put it back in, make sure you clean this axle nicely with some WD and like steel wool, and then maybe put like a very thin layer of grease on it, just so when you knock it back into its place, it goes in relatively easy without damaging the bearings, these new bearings. So anyway, that is the video on how to how to not replace your pinion and sprocket gear or your spur gear. That might not be the issue. It might just be the wheel, the axle bearing. So anyways, good luck. Oh, I forgot the part about the bearings. To get the bearings, these bearings out, all you have to do is take off these 3 nuts here. Take those off. And you can see inside here, this whole thing kind of pulls out. You can pull that out and clean it out. This side here pulls off. You can clean that off. Clean that out before you put it back together again. And yeah, so ball bearing. There you go.